Okay guys, we are back trying to make our second video. We made one in between, but it did not turn out right, and hopefully we're learning and we're getting better at this. So we are in the sweet sorghum field, forage sorghum. It has a sweet gene in it. It's what we're going to chop next winter and make silage for the cows. We'll be chopping it in the fall. We are at day 20 after planting. We're coming in for the first cultivation. We've had a little rough time recently. We've gone about 4 weeks now without rain. Yesterday morning we had our first 40 hundredths of rain. You can see just a little bit of moisture that I'm turning up with the cultivator. But I wanted to start out here. We're right next to the cultivator. You can see that we have the ridges left next to the row from planting. Since the forage sorghum is tall enough now, we have the rolling shields on the cultivator up. This field that we're in, we have several different textures. We have some real nice sugar dirt in places. Other places we have some clods, and plumb down at the other end we have a place where we fed cows last winter, and it's super cloddy. And so variation of your speed is important. When we get into thin spots of sorghum, you have to be able to slow down to a crawl like 3.5 miles an hour, because you don't have the rolling shields down protecting the crop. In this part of the field where we have relatively nice loose soil and we have the rolling shields up, we can move a little bit faster. We can maybe go up to 6 miles an hour. So the good thing about it not raining for the last 4 weeks is that the weeds are minimal. I've been cultivating out here for about an hour now, and Deborah's come along to film me. Here is my little friend. A lot of you will recognize him. He's Morning Glory. And he is right at the point where that vine is about to take off. If that vine goes from row to row, then he catches on the cultivator and he plugs it. So it's real good that we are out here today, because you can see that the Morning Glory is just starting to really extend that vine. Once he starts extending that vine, then he goes ballistic and he'll vine out fast, and you'll have a terrible time cultivating. Deborah, when we were doing the first round here, she mentioned that there was a lot of Morning Glory out here, and I said, honey, this is nothing for Morning Glory compared to, there were years when we would show up at day 14 to do the first cultivation and the field would be solid green, and the Morning Glories would all be about this point here. Once that vine starts sticking out, they'll wrap on the cultivator. So let's look at the cultivator just a little bit. We're using the same cultivator that we used in the other video on soybeans. We've got the shields up, and if we're looking down at the ground here where I've already gone, we can, I was talking about those ridges. Now if you look at the field, in effect the field is flat. We have taken those ridges and we have pushed them up against the sorghum. How aggressively you push them up against the sorghum is based upon your speed. Hopefully in the next day or two we'll make another video and we will show you either the rigid shank cultivator or what I call the aggressive Danish Tine, the one that has shovels all the way across it. Those both move a lot more dirt. For our purpose today, this is doing a good job. We're getting dirt pushed right in next to the sorghum, and things are looking pretty good. Things are working pretty good. So let's get in the tractor a little bit and run just a little bit. Mistakes we made in the other video was we left the cultivator up and the tractor off, and there was this horrendous ticking sound in the background. When we watched the video, it was a really beautiful video, but you couldn't hear anything because the wind was blowing, and in the background there was a crazy tick driving me crazy. So we are recording this on an iPhone. After the first video turned out so good, we had high hopes. we're talking about the lack of rain, and one thing that I'm thinking about here is that I want a dust seal on this ground. People ask me, I'm coming to a small ditch here, I've got to lift my cultivator just a hair and then drop it back down so that I don't plow out. So anyway, there was talk about conserving the moisture. We are on bottom ground here, and so we do have more moisture to burn than the guys on the hill. One difference I will say between us and a no-till farmer is that if you notice here on this ground, even though I've gone in effect 4 weeks without a rain, there are no cracks in the soil surface. We did get a real good stand of sorghum with minimal moisture, or sorghum is good for that. But the soil surface is not cracked open, and we're not losing excessive moisture. The old timers out west, I have friends when I went to the university who farmed out west, and they like to talk about a concept of a dust seal, using loose dirt to seal the cracks. If you just left the surface undisturbed, the surface would crack and you would lose moisture as deep as the cracks went. So that is one thing we're thinking about here. We're using loose soil and we're sealing any potential cracks that have opened up. Basically, we're pushing the moisture in between the rows down deep. The moisture in the row, we're keeping it. We're burying soil, pushing soil up next to the plant so that the only way moisture is coming out of this ground is through the plant itself. That's probably good for this video.